What's up, explorers? This week we're going to try something new, making clay crystals. Now, this is not a tutorial. First off, this is not a tutorial, but I did want to try this, and I think it turned out pretty well. You'll have to let me know in the comments down below, but without further ado, let's get started.
So to get started, I grabbed everything I would need: clay, some clay tools, foil, water, a rag, and I have all these tools that I've never used before, so I was kind of excited to see if I could use maybe some new ones that I haven't tried yet, which is basically all of them. But I went straight into it, kind of not knowing how I wanted to go about all of this. But what I decided to do was open up the clay and cut a section of it just as a block. And I thought, oh, maybe I could mold this into the shape I want. But then I realized, oh, maybe that's, wasting a lot of clay. So I decided to take some foil and mash it into a bit of a rectangle and then cover it with the clay. And then try and smooth it out from there. Now, the footage of this is not the best. This is a new camera. I just got it. It doesn't really go farther than how I have it. And also, I was moving a ton, so its focus is it's really struggling to focus. But honestly, I'm still learning, so maybe it will get easier the longer I have it, and the more I use it, I can get more of a hang of how to use it and how to keep it in focus longer. But for now, I do apologize for the amount of times where it's just not in focus. So I wrap the foil in the clay and try and smooth it out, and at this point I'm thinking this looks like crap. But I'm honestly not too worried about it being so smooth because I know that I can just sand it afterwards to make it a bit more smoother. But I knew that I really needed to be able to get those harsh lines and angles that crystals have. And doing it with my hands was not working, so I tried and used this flat tool. It was kind of sharp, honestly, and I did cut my finger midway through. But I think that did help, and I did end up switching tools because I was scared of it after I cut my finger with it. But I really wanted to have the sides also match that geometric type sharp edges of the crystal. And so I did use that original tool, but I did end up using a different tool later that I would describe it as those tools that people use for pumpkins. There's a circle side and then there's a triangle side. And I know for pumpkins, a lot of people use it to make faces on the outside of the pumpkin. So you're not actually cutting through the pumpkin, you're cutting the outside of it, or to make designs. So I used that tool, and that tool was very helpful. And it was also less dangerous. And honestly, this first one I kind of gave up on because I was thinking, I really hope you guys don't think that this is a tutorial because I have no idea what I'm doing. And this one did not look good at the start. It just did not look like a crystal shape at all. Which is why I took a different approach for the second crystal. Because one of the biggest things I ran into was I was cutting too far into the clay so that the aluminum was showing, and I didn't want that. So I completely gave up on using aluminum altogether. And what I did instead is I just took a block of the clay and molded it into the shape of the crystal, shaved the sides down and the top, and that worked probably the best. And I used this process for the rest of the crystals. And I definitely think that that second crystal looked much better than the first crystal. And here you can see I'm using that tool that I mentioned before. I don't really know exactly what it's called, but I know that there's a similar tool out there that is used for pumpkins, so that's kind of what I connect it to. I made a few baby crystals because I thought that crystal that I was working on before was a little bit too skinny, so I cut it in half. And honestly, at this point, knowing kind of how I wanted each one to be made, it was pretty relaxing because it was just the same process over and over again. And here's kind of where I try and save that original crystal I did by kind of covering it in more clay and then trying using that similar process I just made to kind of make it look better because it really did not look good. And honestly, I think that did help a lot. So I made one more final crystal, and then I waited a full day till they were all dry. So it's now the next day and they're completely dry, and now I have my sanding paper and I have these gloves, which you don't necessarily need, but I like to have them because I don't really like the feeling of the dust and the sandpaper. But I just go ahead and I sand them till they're all smooth. And I did have to change locations because my mom needed this room, so I changed to my room and continued sanding. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wipe down all the pieces, just make sure that all the sand and dust is gone, and then I'm going to seal these clay crystals. And I'm using this glaze, and you seal it, and then you paint it, and then you put another layer of sealant over it. So I'm just sealing these, and I do the tops first, and then I wait a bit and do the bottom. So this is what I'm working with. They're all smooth, all clean, and all sealed. So now we get to paint them. And I wanted to do some bright colors, so I did blue, pink, orange, green, and purple. I don't really have a lot of paint, so I had to mix a few things, and I also don't have the best of paint because I've been trying to really use up my paint so I can get some new paint that's probably better. But I went ahead and painted them, and then I tried to add some depths with like lighter colors and like a gradient, so it's lighter at the bottom and it goes worked up to like the darker shade. And I also went in with some markers and I tried to kind of add some shading. It didn't really work that well, but I tried anyways. And then what I did is I tried and add some like shimmer, but I originally tried it with like matching the color of the crystal with the color of the shimmer, and I didn't really like that. So instead I tried gold and I think that was a bit better. So here you can see I'm adding that gradient in for all of the colors, and it was like a lot of dry time. So I had to wait a lot in between each take and each paint. So that would be the only thing I would say is it's kind of time consuming when you have to wait for the paint to dry. Now, the concern with using these markers is that they are water-based, so when I put on the sealant, I wasn't sure if they would even show up, if they just wipe away. And I think partially they did wipe away a little bit, but I honestly think they were hard to see anyways, but they did still, you could see some of it, like especially in the pink. I think the pink was like the darkest. But so I don't know if this step was exactly needed, but I don't know, it maybe added a bit to the crystals to give them more dimension. So here I'm adding that gold marker that I mentioned before, and I know that, normal crystals don't have this, but I kind of wanted to make it a bit more fun. And I know, like, quartz, especially, yeah, like this doesn't exist on quartz, but yeah, I just wanted to make it a bit more fun and, I don't know, whimsy. So here's them after they are all painted. I think they turned out pretty cute. I think my favorite is the pink one, but you'll have to let me know which one your favorite is. And now what I'm going to do is seal it. So seal all of them once again and make sure that, nothing can hurt the paint per se. And they're waterproof or water resistant, I should say. And normally you would let these dry maybe a day, but I did not do that. It dries pretty fast, but like you would probably want to leave them be for a day just to make sure that it's completely dry. But this is how they turned out. I think they're pretty cute. And I took a few pictures with better lighting. So, yeah.
That is it for the video, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. Comment down below what you thought. My friend did tell me that they looked like, those chalk pieces? I'll put a little, picture above, which I do agree. I think they're still pretty cute, but they do look like chalk pieces. That's kind of true. But for what I'm using them for, they were nice, and let me know if you try and make clay crystals on your own. That is it, and I'll see you in the next one.